ladies and gentlemen. We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I do say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, you guys, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Thursday, everybody. I got a very special guest for you guys here today. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. It's a non-AI company coming in to talk about AI today, you guys. We're going to hear, like, how do you deploy it? What do we do with all of this information? There's so much stuff out there. Where do you start? Is it worth it? Is it overblown? Where are we at? And there is nobody who is more qualified to talk about this than my friend, Ryan Schreiber. Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
man. Thanks for finally asking me to be a part of your podcast. Like for everybody else, I was giving Chris shit that, like, it's 4 years or 5 years he's been doing this, and he finally asked me to be on. So I'm happy to do it, man. Thanks for joining. Thanks for having me.
Let's just clear some things up. The Zelle deposited this morning, so that's why we're here today. The payment, good,
yeah, the $7,500,
yeah, exactly. That's all it is, you guys. It's just a small nominal fee. Chad told me to bill you directly for that to make that happen. So,
yeah. That's good. Yeah, ABRL is really putting it on. So thanks, Chad, for sponsoring my seat here on the Freight Coach Podcast.
Yeah, he doesn't realize it yet, but he will be getting an invoice for this later on today, and it'll be like per courtesy of Ryan Schreiber.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. That's right.
So, dude,
that's right. I just said something to bill to him.
Yeah. Oh man. So what's good, man? What's new in your world? And and then talking about AI and everything. I think that I've had almost every AI company so far on the show. And, there's a lot of really good things that are out there. I'm very much like all about technology, automation where we can. But, a lot of it is it's that deployment. It's that, do I actually need it right now? What stage of my business am I currently in?
Yeah. So, just for context, Chris, like, I've been working on AI and machine learning initiatives in logistics for about 10 years at this point. Mm-hmm. Back in 2016, I started a company called Freight AI, and we were building artificial intelligence use cases in logistics. So, it's something that I have been working on for quite some time, and longer than anybody else really in the industry. And so there's a lot of these foundational, well, the technology's evolved a lot, and certainly over the last couple of years with generative AI. So we didn't have generative AI back then. We just had we had chatbots, and we had other applications of machine vision and NLP and machine learning. But generative AI certainly has been a game changer, and it's changed a lot in the last couple of years. But I understand some of those foundational principles. I've been working on that for quite some time. And then with Metaphora, right? I mean, it's the topic of conversation. Metaphora does technology consulting for logistics and transportation companies. And then primarily, yes, Scott Watanabe, I'm at the Hard Rock. I'm playing blackjack on the side, buddy. I'm actually in Charlotte. I'm not going by Armstrong's office, but I saw Cam yesterday. So, yeah, man, it's, we see the biggest companies in the space, working on AI initiatives. We're working with the biggest companies in the space on AI initiatives, and we're working with some of the, the technology companies themselves on implementing for their customers and whatnot. And so there's a lot of promise. There's a lot of value in the technology over time. There are also a lot of challenges. And the real issue, one of the biggest issues for companies, at least making a selection, Chris, is it comes down to kind of the nuance that is in what's going to make one application useful for more complicated use cases, and which ones are going to kind of top out or hit a ceiling. And so on the front end of like selecting technology, that's certainly a big problem for people right now.
What do you think most people get wrong about AI? And, I want to, like, from a broker, like service provider's perspective, and then what is being overblown out there by the AI companies trying to sell it into the market. And I say that with kind of a little caveat of like, if there's one thing that I have seen over the last 5-6 years in this industry is there's a massive influx in technology companies, all promising how they're going to revitalize the industry. And that really hasn't changed the landscape and the foundation of transportation yet, right? Like I think that we're a ways off from that. But with that being said, what is being missed out there about AI right now, do you think?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that people need to kind of realize is that artificial intelligence has been around for quite a long time.
Yes.
And that it means more than agent AI or even generative AI. There's a lot of different ways in which AI affects and can affect your business. And generative and agentic AI is only one part of that. Machine learning is something I talk a lot about, and that's a big part of it too. But the other is that it is a fundamentally different application of technology to your business. And to get the absolute value out of it that you want to, it requires a different approach to technology implementation and business and implementation within the business than other technology does. I mean, everybody has struggled. Like with every application of technology, you need to review process and you need to review operating model and you need to do some foundational work there to do some changes in your business. But there's the power of this technology today, especially in the generative and agent space, is that you have to reimagine everything about how you want to do the job to get the most value out of it. And most companies have not been yet willing to do some of that. And so those are the two big things I want people to take away from the AI conversation that have been really challenging to kind of get through to people.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Because I think like from a consumer standpoint, from somebody who sees a lot of this stuff being released out there, you see some of the marketing behind some of these companies, and it's stating a clear message of, hey, we're going to automate everything, we're going to make your life easier. And then as a broker myself, who I've interviewed, like I've demoed like a lot of these things out there, and the end thing is it's like, hey, kind of tether your expectations. We're not quite there yet. And the messaging out there, and this isn't directed at any one company or not. I don't play that game, but like, I feel like as a consumer, I see a lot of message out there. So I resonate with what you're saying there, Ryan, is like, hey, people need to understand like it's not there yet. But I also feel like some of these companies need to tether their messaging out there, because it's like you can't sell a bill of goods that we're going to come in and do this. And then when you're going through the demo and then the deployment phase, you're like, actually, we're not there yet. We need another 6 months. And then 6 months turns into another 6 months and then another 6 months, and it's never there.
Yeah. And so Chris, the truth is the technology is there, actually. Like it's capable of doing these things. There are three main reasons that they're not delivering on that brand promise.
Yeah.
The first is really business strategy and business logic. The second is data density. And the third is connectivity and kind of like system, what's the word I'm looking for? But
integration.
Kind of having to deal with antiquated systems. The core underlying technology. Now, there are some of the different vendors can deliver on the brand promise more or less than others, admittedly. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier in terms of how they're architected and how they deal with like how much context they try and pack into a message and stuff that's kind of particularly esoteric for this type of conversation. But in general, like the actual underlying technology is there to deliver the types of outcomes and values that we're talking about. The real challenge in delivering those is actually within the four walls of the brokerage. And it's those three things. So business strategy and business logic, data density, and then connectivity are the three main reasons that people are really struggling to it. And I can go deeper into those things if you want me to, Chris. But the reality that's kind of, I think, a big part of a big part of the challenge is understanding that, is really understanding what is holding some of these technologies back from being as successful in your business. But that having been said, I will say, Chris, that like there are no one that I talk to is getting true deep business value out of any of these implementations today. There are certainly people getting some business value and some incremental business value, but the transformational business value is not yet realized. And again, like some of that is definitely, or most of that is actually on inside the four walls of the 3PLs and the carriers.
Do you think, and I want to talk about connectivity. I want to talk about that, but I want to put something else out there as well, because one thing that I've kind of noticed is there's a lot of tech vendors in the AI space that are fighting. I personally think that are overlooking the biggest part of the market. I think a lot of them are like, hey, if you're not big, we don't want to work with you. And it's like, I mean, I just saw the TIA just released the other day, like 75% of brokers do 15 million or less, right? So it's like, do you think that some of these companies are missing the mark on where the real market is? Because not everybody is going to work with, we'll just Transport Topic releases the top 100 brokers and top 100 for-hire carriers every single year. Go down that list. The top 50 of them are probably building their own product at the end of the day. So it's like, are they really only fighting for 50 to 100 companies? Because then the drop off from a top line revenue perspective is drastic below that top 100 list.
Yeah. So, I also work as an advisor to freight tech companies, and I deal with this in my business at Metaphora, right? Here's the challenge. Are they missing a market opportunity? Kind of. But there's really two big problems with working down market in logistics. One is wallet share. And so there's only so much money that any company has to spend on any initiatives. Like I use the analogy a lot of times. It's like, if you promised me, Chris, hey man, I will give you $300 million in 6 months guaranteed. I'll put it in an escrow account right now so it's there. Like I can prove that it's there. It'll be there. It's an irrevocable, whatever. And you're definitely going to get it. You're absolutely going to get it. To get it, you have to give me $100 million right now. I don't have $100 million, bro. So like, it kind of doesn't matter that you can get me a $200 million ROI because I don't have $100 million to give you.
Yeah.
No matter how much you can prove it and how much I trust you, I can believe you. So wallet share is one of the problems. So there's only so much money to go around. And as you go down market, that gets exponentially worse. Yeah. Right. And so one of the challenges there is there the money at these businesses to spread across all the interesting things that they want to do? Gen logs or highway, green screens, their own TMS, DAT, and then, something in the AI space, whether that's, whether again that's this agent type AI or other types of artificial intelligence that are like data science related or machine learning related. That's one problem. The other problem is, honestly, it costs just as it's actually more difficult to deal with and sell to a smaller company. Like, so part of the problem is the brokers and carriers themselves that are smaller businesses, and like just how they buy and how it is to deal with them and get a deal done. And so sometimes going down market is just more difficult. So I would say that like these companies are willing to work down market. The more you can make it easy to work with you, and to get a deal done, the better it's going to be for you. Because admittedly, like it is actually more difficult to get a contract done with a $15 million broker than it is a top two. I'm working on a contract right now with a top 2 broker. Yeah. And it's actually an easier process. It's an easier sales process. And it's taking just as much time as it has been or would if I was selling a $15 million broker. So those are kind of the challenges. So yeah, I mean,
do you think that in time there will be somebody who kind of comes, like I'll call it, not that the Toyota Camry is a bad car, but like, how the Toyota Camry is just, it's reasonably priced, it's nice, and it's very, very reliable. Yeah. Do you think that in due time, technology will kind of expedite up there to where it's like, hey man, we have like this account. We've developed the technology. We've ironed out a lot of this stuff. It's going to cost $500 a month. Hypothetical example, ladies and gentlemen, but $500 a month. There's your AI agent. It's going to come in and do all of that. Do you think that's going to happen? And if so, about how far out are we from something like that happening?
I mean, it's absolute, like, we're there now. We could be there now. Sure. I mean, there are so many of these companies, to your point. Like, I was actually talking yesterday, I was at the FreightWaves AI symposium or what have you. And every week I hear about 2 new companies minimum that are working on this problem. And so they're all going to need to find product market fit somehow. And some of these solutions are going to struggle with more complex use cases. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like, and there are companies now that, again, will sell down market. I think that some of the other part of it is, I think that smaller brokers and carriers, they don't need as robust tool set as bigger companies do. And yet they sort of like, they misunderstand. And listen, again, for everybody who's listening who may not know my background, I've started 3 brokerages in my career. So like, I've had to build a company from nothing. Like, I know what it's like to be a $5 million, $10 million, $20 million, $50 million broker. And so, I did the same thing, and that I see everyone else doing, which is overestimated the complexity of my business and how robust the tool set I needed at any given time in my business was. And so those exist today. Looking at more point solutions as opposed to platforms would be a good place to start. So folks who are focused on a specific use case, and then look at other things for AI that aren't agentic or generative, really agentic as such. Like, look at back office situation. Like, look at things. Look at your P&L and identify areas where you're wasting money. A quick story and then I'll stop for a second. But, there was one year where it was probably, it was the first or second year of one of the brokerages I started, and we did 15 million in top line revenue. We did $1.5 million in gross profit. And I took $20,000 to net operating income, only $20,000. And I looked at my, P&L, and I was parsing it at the end of the year. And God, where's the money to grow, And I had spent $500,000. I had spent a third of my overhead, my gross profit on SG&A for HR, track and trace, carrier compliance and onboarding, and billing and collections.
Yep.
That was it was a third of my. Like, there's real ROI there, and it doesn't need to be this sexy carrier sales. It doesn't need to be customer acquisition. Like, that was real money that if I could get access to, I could use to grow my business. I could use to invest in sales. I could use to grow revenue. So look in some of the non-sexy places, Chris, is where I think the low-hanging fruit is for, smaller brokers today, down market brokers today.
That is, like, I mean, you are honestly listing out like kind of my strategy of implementing technology and automation into my operations here, Ryan, is it's a lot of the stuff behind the scenes. Like, and I say this on the show often, man, I'm like, 95% of my day as a broker should be automated. The 5% that I will never automate in my company is the customer experience and the carrier experience, because they want to talk to real people. So if you're one of those AI people in freight who are trying to do automated carrier sales, you're not going to get it from me. I'm not doing that. And from my perspective,
Chris, sorry, go ahead, buddy. Go.
No, I was gonna say, from my perspective, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes where I can automate to grow smart, right? Because like, that's ultimately at the end of the day, Ryan, I need to build a war chest of funding while I'm scaling my business. I don't have investors. I don't want to take on investors because I want to do this on my own. People can call me wrong, whatever they want, but it is a lot more important for me to own 100% of Chris than it is to get a capital investment to possibly expedite 5 years of my life. And I look at it as there's a lot of roles behind.
I see it very similarly, for what it's worth.
Yeah. And I just look at it, Ryan, I'm like, man, there's a lot of stuff that I can automate behind the scenes where it's like, hey, instead of hiring 3 people for this role, I can hire 1, make them more accurate, and I can actually pay that one person more money than I would be able to if I needed to have a manual task and have 3 people in that role. And,
right.
and I look at that as, it's not Chris is trying to not hire people. On the contrary, I'm trying to hire the right people. So where if there is a down market, I don't have to look at you and be like, hey, I'm paying you too much money. You're out.
Yeah. So Chris, I think you're painting automation with a little too broad of a brush. And talking about automating the carrier experience and the customer experience because they want to talk to a person. They do sometimes. What they really want is their problem solved quickly, and they want to be met where they are. So I'll give you an easy example. If a driver, it's 3:00 in the morning, the driver shows up to a delivery facility, and he's like standing in line to check in, and he goes, "Shit, I don't know what my delivery number is." He doesn't really care if he talks to a person. He just wants his delivery number really quickly. But he also wants to be met where he is, right? Which is why kind of the download my driver mobile app doesn't work. So that driver's ability, and again, we're talking all about agents and generative AI, but that ability for that driver to call in quickly, get a bot on the phone and it gives him his delivery number and he can move on with his life like that.
For sure.
Is a significantly better experience than he calls you, you've got to get out of bed. There's a Transport Topics article that came out this week that quotes me saying this exact same thing. It's better. And then you having to get out of bed, turn on your computer, get into the TMS, call him back. It's 15 minutes. Like everybody's better off for that experience. I got to stay asleep and the driver got the information answered for him. And, and so I do think that painting automation with too broad of a brush, that there are things that we aren't going to automate. Or that we shouldn't automate, right? Which is like, I used to call my customer. There was one customer, he's still a good friend of mine to this day. And I would call and do an NFL pick-in with him every week. We literally would do that. That's the real relationship. I'm obviously not going to automate my NFL pick-in with him, but I can automate the rate quote. I can automate that. If he wants that, if he opts into it, if he doesn't. And if he doesn't opt into it, I should price in my time. My time is very valuable. Right. That's why you're paying me to be here. We talked about this out. That's why you're paying me $7,000 to be here, just to bring that joke back. But, it's my time's really, really valuable and it should be paid appropriately. Right. It should be compensated for. So if you're going to make it difficult to do business with you, if you're going to require me to call you on the phone to give you the rate quote, those types of things need to be priced into the freight opportunity because I actually do pay for it. I pay for it below the line. Brokers' P&Ls are deceptively simple in ways that actually hide a lot of the cost of doing business with a shipper and in ways that I think are really damaging if you don't really dig into it. But yeah, Chris, I think I agree with you. There's parts of it, or I agree with you in part, right? There's parts of it that you absolutely don't want to automate, shouldn't automate, never automate. But I do think I see brokers frequently rather paint automation with too broad of a brush, and you really need to break down what's the situation, and what are we trying to accomplish, and what's the best way to do that, and where do people want that, and then how do I make sure I meet them wherever they are? If they want it by email, if they want it by phone, if they want it by SMS, or they want to be, if they want to be talking, if they want it by carrier pigeon, great, let's meet them where they are and get them that, and then price it in.
Do you think people in freight are painting AI with too broad of a brush because they've been told that it is way more capable than it actually is out there in the market? Because I see where you're coming from, Ryan, 100%. And there, you do bring up a good point, right? That automated, hey, what's the delivery number, stuff like that. We don't have enough time, but I could go down the argument that a real broker would have made sure that driver had that information prior, yada, yada, yada in form. But I look at it is we're at a point where I think one of the big struggles that AI companies are going to see over the next 2 to 3 years is they are going to have to fight against AI tools that are out there in other facets of a person's life. And they're going to instantly make that correlation. Because a lot of people, if you've ever worked in sales, your prospect tends to kind of make up their own story on what they think you're saying is. And I feel like it's on you as a sales rep and as a company to make sure your messaging is crystal clear on what your product is actually able to do.
Right. Yeah. Yes. I mean, I guess I agree with your underlying point.
Yeah.
I don't think that I really push back on the over-promising piece of this because it really, again, the biggest reason that brokers struggle, the number one reason, as I said earlier, it's like business strategy and business logic. Like these companies, I mean, even the biggest companies in the space, they struggle to pull out the complex business logic that goes into their decisioning. It's what you would call implicit, right? Like it's that institutional knowledge that's just like, well, I just know what to do. I just know what to do. Okay, but to think about agentic and generative AI, like, and then actually really like any types of machine learning, like you have to know the information to get good outcomes. Like you have to train literally, like everybody talks about training models, but like you have to train a human just like you have to train an AI model.
Yeah.
And the information has to be available. Like imagine I came to you and I was like, Chris, I want you to quote me on a shipment. Okay, well, where's it pick up and where's it deliver? I can't tell you. Okay, well, when does it pick up and when does it deliver? I can't tell you that either. Well, how long of a transit is it? Yeah, it's like, I don't know, it's somewhere between like 600 miles and 6,000 miles. Okay, what's the commodity? What's the equipment? If you can't answer any of those, if you can't answer, the more of those questions you can answer, the better results I can give you. And when I talk about things being implicit, sometimes things aren't available to these applications. That goes to the data connectivity and data density and some of the other stuff. Some of these things aren't available to the applications in a way that allows them to deliver the business value you're describing. Now, I do agree that at some level, like as a salesperson, if you really kind of, or like as a company, like you want to disqualify customers as much as you qualify them. I walk away from customers sometimes that I don't believe will be successful working with me, and with Metaphora and with other businesses that I have. But at the same time, like Chris, if you bought some bullshit, you got sold. Like that's on you. Like their responsibility is to try and sell. Like they're trying to sell their product, and like they should care, quote unquote, that you're going to be successful. But really, like the world doesn't work on should. This is capitalism, as a lot of people like to point out all the time. So like it's on you, bro. And so, yeah, man, do your own due diligence. Are you in a position to articulate the business logic that's required? Probably not. Or the business strategy. Like how do you decide when to take a 9 p.m. delivery appointment, when you wanted 9 a.m.? Like sometimes you'll ask for a reschedule, sometimes you won't. Why? In what scenarios? If your systems can't connect to each other, do the due diligence to figure out what these applications need to be successful with you when talking to them, and then figure out if they can do that. Because if they lie to you, that's fraud, right? But if you didn't do your due diligence, which is what I see more frequently than not when people are upset about how the outcomes they got with technology, it's that they didn't do their homework. Mm-hmm. They didn't ask the right questions. They didn't ask the right depth and level of questions. And so then they didn't get the value out of it. So, I mean, I'm sorry that I'm pushing back so much on this concept of like technology is not there, because
Ryan, here's the thing. This stuff
it largely is.
Yeah, this needs to be said, because like nobody's asking these questions out there, man. And then they find themselves in that exact position you're talking about right here, where they feel like they got fucked.
Yeah.
And now they're sitting there and they're like they're blaming other people because they never stopped to take 5 seconds to be like, hey, where am I at in the business? Do I actually need this? Why am I signing this contract? And again, man, you're right in your stance here of like, hey, sales reps are there to sell. If you got sold, that's on you. But again, this is the entire premise of the show, Ryan. This is where real conversations need to be had, because like we need people to think about this stuff outside of how they're currently thinking, because otherwise, man, one thing that, again, it's not my responsibility to feel bad for people, but I'm a human being. I feel bad when I hear from people who are like, yeah, man, I got fucked out of $30,000. And, like as a business owner who's bootstrapping, it pains me to hear that. And that's why I'm like, I want to have these conversations on this show, because hopefully somebody hears this, Ryan, and they think about it differently when they go into that next demo.
Yeah. So, bro, like, it's not just about AI, man. This is like Beauty and the Beast. It's a tale as old as time. Like, this is the story of people picking technology for quite some time. And admittedly, like, it's the entire reason that I have a business, because people need help picking technology. They need help building technology. They need help implementing technology. So, I mean, the key is, part of what you just said, why do I need this? Why do I want this? What am I trying to get out of it? Chad, we talked about Chad Olson earlier. Chad and I have this conversation frequently that like he'll also walk away from customers that he doesn't believe will be successful with this product because there is a FOMO element in freight tech where it's like everybody else has this, I should get it. Now, I think that people also go I see people also go the other way of like rejecting stuff just for the sake of it, because they don't need to do it, because I still use fax machines and shit. But like, but the reality is, I also feel bad. I give away a lot of free advice. Like I give away a lot of free work because I want people to be successful. Number one, why are you doing it? Ask that question. What's the business problem you're trying to solve?
Yeah.
Not what's cool technology. There he is. What's the business problem you're trying to solve? Why are you trying to solve it? And what's the best way to solve it? Here's the other thing about AI actually that I want people to take away that they're missing. It's actually the worst. It's the worst. Worst is the wrong way to put it. It should be the last solution to many of these problems as it relates to technology. It's incredibly powerful. I love it. It is incredibly powerful, and it's so powerful that actually you should have tried everything else before you get to artificial intelligence or machine learning or whatever else it is. Because we see it in reporting a lot. Like you could do a lot with machine learning, but you have to be able to ask really interesting questions that are different than you could get from a BI dashboard. And so it's probably the wrong way to solve the problem. It's just cool and sexy and seems neat and also seems easy. And there's ways in which it is easier than other technologies. And I actually wrote an article for TIA about this like 3 or 4 years ago, that natural language processing is kind of like the easy button solution to certain aspects. But like, and then get into, what do I need to be successful? What do I need from a vendor to be successful? I see this in TMS selection just as much as I see it in AI. What do I need from a vendor to be successful? I might need a vendor to help me suss out the business logic. If they think I'm coming to the table with all of the answers, like the deep answers, like I know how my business works, but like really be able to articulate, again, why I might take this 9 p.m. appointment, but other times I might reschedule it. Because this carrier, because this customer, because I missed this load yesterday, blah, blah, all of those things that go into that. If I need somebody to help me suss that out, I need to vet the vendor for how they're going to do that. What does customer success look like? What does implementation look like? What are the activities that you are going to do? How are you going to do this? Literally walk me through, just like a job interview. Walk me through a scenario where you did this with someone. Show me this in production. I mean, there is vaporware out there, Chris. Like, I'm not going to pretend that there's not. No,
for sure.
Even though I've been pushing back on you a bit where the technology is. Like, but okay, walk me through in production. I mean, we have a 9-step technology. Our framework at Metaphora, when we do technology selection for people, it's a 9-step process. There are 9 different areas. Like we do a technical questionnaire, we do a technical demo, we have people, we give them a use case and have them walk us through in production, like an example of this. Like, there's a lot of things that we do to get to the right answer, and but it all starts up front with business requirements gathering at a level of detail that is way more than you think you need, bro. So, it starts with doing the self-discovery.
Oh man, I love that, and I think that's you're so right, Ryan. You need to start with that self-discovery. You need to push back, ask questions, actually ask yourself, do we really need this, or is that FOMO starting to set in there, man? But hey, man, I appreciate your time. I promise it won't be 5 more years unless Chad doesn't open up his wallet and pay for you to come back on. Yeah. But dude, how does anybody reach out to you to find out more about what you got going on, or what you guys got going on at Metaphora?
Yeah, always just find. I mean, LinkedIn's the best place to find me. I have an X account, but like I can never find myself finding the time or the space to use it. So just find me on LinkedIn, Ryan B. Schreiber. And you can always shoot me an email, Ryan Schreiber at metaphora.net. It's Metaphora with an F, by the way, metaphora.net. And just reach out, shoot me a LinkedIn message, and I'm always happy to chat. I'm always here to help. And and or just message Nick Dangles and just tell him you're trying to get to me, because he always likes when people do that. So thanks for having me, bro.
No, absolutely, man.
Ryan,
Ryan,
let me give everybody Nick's cell phone number. Let me give everybody's Nick's cell phone number real quick. It's 217. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that's funny. Oh, Ryan, thank you so much for your time today. That's going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys can't find Ryan or Metaphora out there, hit me up. I'll gladly put you guys in contact with them. But that's going to be it. As always, if you got value in what you heard, subscribe to the show, you guys. And if you're feeling really ambitious after this one, rank the show on iTunes and Spotify, because if you saw value, your network's going to see value as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.